Good evening. Welcome to On Another Level Book
Hi.
Club, Author's Babble. Tonight we're getting up close and personal with author Tiffany Walton. She's the author of Combating Depression. Miss Walton, thank you for joining us on this evening.
Thank you for having me, Miss Sharon. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am married. I have three children, two boys, one girl, ages 24, 21, and 15.
Okay.
Uh, been in the Army for, I always say 18 and 3/4 years, almost 19. I will retire in about 15 months, so I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and that's my life right now. I was born in a town called Gary, Indiana, which is right outside of Chicago. A lot of people aren't familiar with Gary. It's known for being the murder capital. But that's also where the Jacksons were born and
That's
raised.
where I know about it. I'm like, Michael, the Jackson 5?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yeah. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us on tonight. So, your book tonight is entitled Combating Depression. Okay. So, tell us the topic. And I'm going to ask also that Duncan put up the cover of the book because I am, as I stated, intrigued with just the visuals. Tell us about the title of the book. How did you come about in selecting the title of the book, and can you just give us a little bit about the illustration on the
Okay,
cover?
so combating depression was a very difficult topic to come up with. I knew I wanted to write about depression. I knew I wanted to help people, from my perspective, manage their depression if possible. So I had a couple of names. One included Depression Defeated, but I had to really think about that. Depression is something that you can suffer with for years. And so I didn't want to use
Mm.
defeating depression, because I feel like we're subject to depression, anytime in our lives, because it can happen
Mhm.
from different scenarios, different sources. The illustration on the book, I was not fond of it, but I worked with a company who came up with a couple of different versions of what they thought represented exactly what I wanted. I did
Mhm.
ask for the color yellow because yellow represents enlightenment. Yellow is also used in advertisement a lot, like McDonald's,
Okay.
food companies. They use yellow to get attention. And the
Mhm.
brain with the band-aid on it, like I said, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of gross looking. But the illustrator felt like, hey, this will get people's attention. And what are you doing? You're really trying to fix, your mind and your way of thinking. So I said,
Right.
okay. It took a little while. I actually did a survey with
Yeah.
friends, family, people I didn't know. So I would hold up both covers and ask, which one do you like more? Um, a lot of people said they liked the yellow. The yellow actually
Mhm.
won, so that's the one I went with.
Okay. So, combating depression, is this a book from personal experience, or is this something that you dealt with friends and relatives?
So combating depression, it talks a lot about the depression that I've gone through in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Basically, I just took my experiences in life,
Mm-hmm.
and after kind of observing what worked for me, I thought, hey, if it works for me, maybe it can work for other people. I
Right.
started to journal before I, turned what worked for me into a book.
Uh-huh.
So just after seeing doctors for so long, I've seen doctors for depression for almost, I'd say, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the military and just different scenarios that I've faced in the military, I've gone in and out of, the mental health care system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of got fed up with what doctors would do. They want to medicate you. And I'm not speaking against doctors. I just feel that those methods did not necessarily work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the military, I thought that maybe the methods that they use would not be accessible or affordable. And I know that's something that the general population struggles with. So I thought, hey, I'm going to take it upon myself to figure out what works best for me. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted something natural. I wanted something holistic.
Right.
And those are the methods I chose to describe in the book in hopes that it will reach other people and those methods would work for them.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about depression. So we're in a pandemic. Um,
Absolutely.
People have been contained. Well, most people have been contained within the four walls of their homes,
Right.
maybe with children, which is a whole different set of issues on its own. Maybe with a spouse that you come to find out is not the person who you thought he or she was. And then you have some folks that are quarantined in their home alone and having to deal with, just being by yourself. So we do know that mental health issues is on the rise. It has been in the public for a while now. Tell me,
Absolutely.
based on your experience, and these are just some general questions that, I'm just thinking people may be wondering, can depression be prevented? And what causes depression?
Well, I think there are a number of things that might cause depression, especially, in women. And as
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So a lot of things that can cause depression, probably fear of the unknown. For women, hormonal changes, um, the way that we're raised socially, we take on a lot of different scenarios ourselves. Uh, there are a lot of things that can cause depression. Uh, I think that you can do certain things to help you with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so some of the things I tried, like just knowing myself, learning what worked for me. I think that's something that a lot of people tend to not do,
Mm-hmm.
which ends up making us even more depressed. Like actually identifying what are those things that are actually making you depressed,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to take on those things for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
um, and sometimes it helps to just get to a space where you can kind of quiet down everything, and then you can start to learn, talk about it a lot in the book, learn yourself and what are the things that are actually making you depressed. What I found, I went through therapy. I
Uh,
went through therapy for about 10 weeks, and
mm-hmm.
I found that many times I knew what I was depressed about. I just did not know how to necessarily handle,
Right.
those situations. A lot of people, if you ask them, like, what are you depressed about? They can tell you a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times. They can explain to you, like, I'm trapped in the house with, my spouse, my children. It's hard. And then from there, once you figure out what the problem is, you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of figure out how to cope with those issues. I'm
Right.
not a medical professional. So again, I chose to push off, the medical diagnosis and
Mm-hmm.
the prescription medication, and
Right.
really get to the root of what was going on with me. Why am
Mm-hmm.
I depressed? And I think that's something that a lot of people have to do if they want the solution to depression. You have to kind of reach out for yourself and do it for yourself. It's self care. You have to care for yourself in order to uh, combat depression.
Yeah. And I love that you have that personal experience because a lot of times just knowing that someone has been through something you've been through,
Yes.
causes you to open up and be more receptive of the information. So one thing
Right.
I want to know, like, how do you tell the difference? How do you distinguish between um, feeling sad and actually being depressed? How do you distinguish between the 2?
So if you find yourself mentally in a rut, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems as though that is the norm for you, I would say that that's depression. If you find yourself um, feeling ashamed about things, worrying excessively, that's anxiety, but it can come with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Feeling sadness all the time and not having the ability to pull yourself out of that state of mind, I would say that
Okay.
that's depression, most
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And I think about myself, if, more times I am having those feelings of sadness, hopelessness, if I'm having those feelings more
Mm-hmm.
often than being happy, then that's depression.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know you say you're not a professional. Are there different types? Are you aware of different types of depression, or it is just depression?
Well, I chose to, stay just with basic depression,
Mm-hmm.
probably to avoid lawsuits because I'm not a doctor. But
Right. Right.
there are forms of depression like manic depression where
Okay. I
it's
heard of that.
very excessive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are severe forms of depression, that can lead to suicide.
Oh, okay.
Uh, a lot of times, that's what happens if a person stays in that depression for so long. We know, based off of certain statistics, that it can lead to suicide.
Right.
Yeah, people
Right.
just they can't take it, and they want out. They don't find a way to deal with the depression, and
Mm-hmm.
then it eventually overruns them.
So, for
Yeah.
anyone that's listening or watching us on tonight, um, I know if you think about a few celebrities over the last year or two that has taken their lives, um, what are some signs that you're aware of that people should look out for with family members of loved ones, where if they are going through a bout of depression and are unable to realize they're going through that, what are some signs we can look for in our loved ones or people we know that may be facing the challenge of, dealing with depression?
Well, I would say that if there's someone that, they're always around people, they start to isolate themselves, and they're going through different things that have happened in life or having a
Mm-hmm.
hard time dealing with things in life, you should probably check on them because more than likely they're depressed. So isolation is one of them.
Okay.
One of the things they teach us in the military, you know, usually when people are depressed to the point where they're going to commit suicide, there are telltale signs. There is a rumor I used to hear for years that when people are depressed or thinking about suicide, that they don't talk about it. That's not true. They do talk about it. Some
Mm-hmm.
leave letters. Um, when people make plans, they give things away. So if you see somebody
Mm-hmm.
that's, giving away, all of their stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
more than likely they're depressed to the point where they're having, ideation. So those are different signs. Isolation being one of the bigger ones, but a lot of
Right.
people express depression in different ways. Men, a lot of times they're angry.
Mm-hmm.
Anger is like can be a representation for depression.
Interesting.
Irritability also, and then
Mm-hmm.
of course the emotional signs like crying, and then having the inability to pull yourself out of different spells like that. So there are
Okay.
signs.
So you said you went the holistic route because when it comes to medication, a lot of times it's taboo. I don't want my baby on medication. I don't want to be on medication. Can you share with us some things you did naturally, alternative practices that you use to overcome your depression?
Yes. So the medication was not for me. I had an allergic reaction to it.
Mhm.
I do know that it can be very helpful for certain individuals. It's just not something that I looked at it more as a band aid. And
Mhm.
so I really went down a spiritual route. And this works for all people. It
Mhm.
has, whether you are, and so I say spirituality, I didn't say religion.
Right.
I think all people have a sense of spirituality about them in some form.
Hmm.
Um, so I started to practice meditation. I practiced mindfulness, and mindfulness is really just becoming aware of where you are and
Hmm.
what's happening, and just calming the mind. I started to practice what's called grounding, and grounding is
Hmm.
just really where you not. I didn't become like a tree hugger or anything like that. So, but grounding is like kind of where you just make contact, you know, with the ground outside. You go
Okay.
outside, you can walk in the grass, you can, rub your feet in the dirt, different things like that. I also practice sun gazing. I don't stare directly at the sun, but
Uh-huh.
um, sun scientifically helps to heal. It helps to stimulate us. It helps produce, vitamin D within the body. So I
Hmm.
expose myself to the sun. And then a lot of people don't think about it, but the way that you take care of yourself, what you ingest into your body, can
Hmm.
also help you with depression. So I started to eat really clean. I actually became a vegetarian, but I don't think that people have to be that excessive if they don't want to. Just cleaning up their diet a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Exercise is considered a holistic approach. These are all things that help to stimulate the body. So they're all
Hmm.
considered, healthy things. They're all considered holistic things. And I just found more happiness in doing those things.
Hmm. And these are all things that don't cost a dime, really. You
No
know?
money, they're free.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's something that you can actually take it upon yourself and do it without
Yes.
restrictions, none whatsoever.
Another thing I started to do was I looked at the relationships in my life also. Uh,
Mm.
and if they were draining or non productive to me,
Uh-huh.
I didn't necessarily get rid of those relationships, but I instill boundaries. That's one of the chapters that I talk about. I put some boundaries in place with people.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I kind of started to date myself. I know it sounds weird, but
Hmm.
you know, we date other people. We never really date or get to know ourselves. So I
Right.
started asking myself, like, well, what do you like?
Hmm.
What do you like to do? Where do you like to go? Different things of that nature. A lot of us don't really know who we are. And so I
Hmm.
started to study myself. And those things help a lot.
Hmm.
I started to pay more attention to me. What are my needs? Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's self care.
Right, right. And you
You
know what?
resting.
As you were talking about it, I mean, taking care of self is like the number one thing. You got to know who you are, because a lot of times when we think about um, what makes us unhappy, which
Hmm.
depression is, especially as women, it's like we're in a position, or we're on a job that we don't like. We're in a
Right.
relationship that we don't like. It's the sacrifice we're making, but are you happy with the sacrifice? So just
Right.
finding out what you
Yeah.
like is
And
so
that's
key.
what I did. I did.
Hmm.
For once in my life, I said to myself, you know, this is about me. If I want to
Hmm.
feel better, then I have to take care of myself. No one else is going to take care of me how I can. And then, for that matter, no one else is really responsible for taking care of you, when you become an adult.
That's true.
You take care of your children, take care of husbands, take care of boyfriends, take care of the job, and then
Hmm.
you're left with nothing. You don't take care of yourself. So, I mean, a lot
Exactly.
of us we can't help but to be depressed. There's
Hmm.
we've trained ourselves completely and expect to feel good when that's just not possible. We tax the
Hmm.
body mentally and physically, and then I mean, it's just, you suck it dry and there's nothing left.
Right. So
Yeah.
during your transformation, during your journey, um, how have your relationship with your family, your children, and your husband, how has it improved? Did they see the change during while you were on the journey, or was it just like one day you woke up and you were a different person?
No, this takes work. Self-care is work. It's like having a
Mm-hmm.
job. Especially, in our community, we're kind of taught like one of the things I remember hearing as a child, I was sad and I was crying, and someone told me, um, if you keep crying, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yep.
That's a good example right there. I was having feelings and emotions at that time, um,
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. There are certain things, I won't call them hereditary, but there are certain things that we have passed along as a culture, which can also, lead us into depression.
Right.
Not acknowledging our feelings and emotions, different things like that. So this has been a job for me. Um, and I will say that I put in the work
Mm-hmm.
to feel better. And my family has noticed a difference. I'm not dealing with, I understand myself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The irritability, if I'm feeling that way, I try to find out why. Like, what are you feeling irritable about? And should you really be
Mm-hmm.
feeling this way? Yeah, it just equates to me being able to understand myself. I think self
Mm-hmm.
understanding counts for a lot. A lot of us, we don't really understand ourselves. And if we
Mm-hmm.
just take the time to do that, we can basically, I will say you can heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can. You don't have to wait
Mm-hmm.
for a doctor to come and try to do it. The bottom line is that in any scope, in life, you have a lot of times you have to do it yourself.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So they do.
One.
They.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was saying my family, they notice a lot. I'm willing to, instead of stuffing things, open my mouth and communicate how I'm actually feeling with them. I
Mm-hmm.
am a lot happier, and just realizing that, hey, I am depressed, and I don't want to feel this way, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the work to make myself feel better.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
that helps.
And you kind of talked on some of the things that we have passed down from generation to generation, because I'm sure we've all heard um, kids are supposed to be seen and not heard. Or
Right.
you stated, I'm gonna give you something to cry about, or
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about our family business. Keep it under the rug. As a
Mm-hmm.
parent, from your experience as a parent, what are some things that parents can do to start that nurturing relationship with their kiddos to talk and open up and just being able to express their emotions? What
Do
are some things
exactly
parents?
exactly what you said. You allow them to express their emotion, not in a disrespectful way, but I was just talking about this yesterday with,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 40. I have soldiers that are 17, 18 years old. They come in, and their number one question is why. Well, if I asked that question, I probably would have got whipped
Right,
with an extension cord. Like, you don't ask that question, but
right.
it's a very viable question. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
How come? Explain to them, nurture them, communicate with them, provide them with something that you did not have growing up. We can't say, I mean, I'm okay, I'm alive, but certainly things could have been a lot better for me growing up. And it's possible that if they were better, I wouldn't have had to deal with depression. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have, had to have found some of the things that worked for me at 40 years old. This could have
Mm-hmm.
happened, when I was younger. Um,
Right.
yeah. Yep.
So, from your experience or your research that you've done, is depression something that you always live with, or is it something that you can overcome, or is it something? Is it reoccurring or what?
I think depression can be reoccurring. It probably deals with life experiences that you go through. Grief is a good one, for example. Grief is another word for depressed. So I think it's very circumstantial. But again, having those tools to pull yourself out of that circumstance mentally to where it does not become dangerous depression. I think some depression is okay. I think we're human beings. You go through a breakup, with a boyfriend or a marriage, you're going to be depressed. Again, just having that strong mind to be able to pull yourself out of that situation, maybe expose yourself to some things that you don't want to do for the sake of having, a better mental state. So I think depression is very circumstantial. In my case, there was a lot of trauma in my life, and a lot of that trauma caused me to have those, depressing feelings. A lot of trauma, a lot. And then just allowing, again, not knowing myself and allowing people to run me over, not having boundaries, being involved with toxic people and toxic relationships. Those are things that you don't have to deal with them. You don't. It's a choice. Not saying depression is a choice, because it's not by any means. But a lot of the circumstances that we allow ourselves to go through that lead us down that path of depression are choices. And they're hard choices. So I won't undermine these things. They're very hard choices. But
Okay. So tell our viewing audience where they can contact you, and also if they're interested in getting your book, where can they purchase your book?
So I can be contacted on Instagram. I am at Woman of States, and on Facebook I am on Tiffany Walton Official. The book Combating Depression is sold on Amazon, and prices vary from $3.99 to $9.99. Under my Instagram, there's also a link tree where you can purchase from a personal page that I have. And then for all personal pages purchases, I give away a free book. I've given away more books than I've actually sold. And it's purposely because I wrote the book to, of course, monetary, yes, that will help. But I really wrote the book to attempt to help people that for them mental health care was either not affordable, not accessible, or maybe they just didn't want to go down that route.
Right. Blessing. That's a blessing. So outside of one of the selling points is the personal experience, what can our viewing audience expect from this book? What can they expect from Combating Depression by Tiffany Walton?
So in Combating Depression, some of the things that I discussed today, I discuss, depression. I attempt to break down what depression actually is. There's a difference between depression and anxiety, and a lot of people think, well, I have anxiety. Depression is really related to past events and circumstances. So depression is about the past. Anxiety is about the future. So I talk a lot about, what depression actually is, how many people depression affects. It's, as of January of this year, 264 million people of all ages around the world suffer from depression. And also it's the leading cause of disability in the world. So depression has a lot of people grounded. It's not it's not something that again, it's referred to as a disability, but it's not something to be, ashamed about. And particularly like in our community, we don't talk about it enough. I hope to normalize, depression through this book. I also, like I said, I talk about some things that I brought up, during our time, establishing boundaries, terminating toxic relationships, things that you can do to holistically help with your depression. And also it's an interactive book. So in some of the chapters you can go, to the end of the chapter and answer questions and
Okay.
find out a
Okay.
little bit about yourself. I mean, I think it's a well-written book.
So everyone that's watching, I need you to go purchase the book. Purchase a copy for yourself and purchase a copy for your loved ones. Even if you feel like you don't need the book right now, put it on your shelf because life happens.
Yes.
2020 has happened. Everyone needs to be taking care of themselves. So go and purchase the book.
I talk about
Great Christmas
COVID-19 as well. I
Oh,
had COVID this year, so that was another thing I had to deal with. Yeah, and if for people, I have had people contact me like really like, I've had a homeless person contact me. I don't want to talk, bad about anybody, but I have had people that said that they could not afford the book. I'll send you the book. It's my gift to attempt to help people. If people felt how I felt, I just, that's a low place, and I want people to get better.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to transition, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay. I want to get to know you a little bit better. All right. Okay. First question.
Can I see these questions?
When was the last time you tried something new?
What's that?
When was the last time you tried something new?
Me? Something new?
Something new. When was the last time you tried something new?
About a month ago, I tried what's called SUP in Hawaii. It's called stand-up paddleboarding.
Oh, cool.
So I tried SUP. It was actually yoga SUP.
I've seen it. How did you do?
I was not as flexible as most of the females, but it was very relaxing. It was super relaxing.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good.
Okay. Next question. Do you think crying is a sign of weakness or strength?
Oh man, that's a good question. Crying is a sign of strength. It is not a weakness. I used to call it getting spanked in therapy. I would hold back my tears and I would tell my therapist I'm not gonna cry. And I mean, she was just like, "No, you're gonna cry. It's number one, it's normal."
Right.
To imagine what it's doing to your body to fight that off or stuff it. You're not. It's a release for your body. We do it for a reason. So it's a strength for me. It's a strength for anybody. I would never look at someone and say, "Oh, that makes that person weak." And I used to do that. My husband would.
I did too.
Kind of whine. I would call it whining. And I would think like, "Oh my God, like man up. Like that's so wrong." He's expressing emotions. It's normal. Yeah. It's how we function and it's a strength. If you need to cry, there's nothing weak about that at all.
That's true. Okay, next question. What is the difference between living and existing?
Who knows me? Living, you are just there. You don't have purpose. Living is nothing. Well, I'm sorry, existing is nothing. You're just there. I'm answering it backwards. So existing, you're just there. You don't have purpose. I mean, you don't even have the question of like, why? What am I here for? And then just going with the flow of life. Sometimes not trying to enjoy life, not being open to new things, not figuring out how to help yourself or help other people, not figuring out how to progress in life. So that's existing. Living is just going for everything. Like I want everything life has to offer me. I want to help people. I want to advance. That's living, just going after everything. Not saying, being adventurous if you're not that adventurous type of person, but living, it should be fulfilling. Yeah, you're not just there.
Last question.
Yeah.
Right. Last question. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self some advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I think I would probably tell myself that it's okay. Everything is okay. And everything is going to be okay. Um, I think I lived basically kind of being afraid of the unknown my entire life, which is not healthy. That's anxiety. I would tell myself that it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, and I definitely will tell myself it's okay to be me, and it's okay for me to accept myself for who I am. Most definitely.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for answering our questions. Now, we're going to transition over to chopping it up with our viewers. And we're going to have our boss of reason, Miss Tony Duncan, come in. And she's going to share any questions that we have from our viewing audience.
Wow, what a great interview. I'm loving it. So we do have one question in the queue as of now, and it's from Miss Francine Knight. Do you feel depression can be hereditary?
That's a hard question. So I don't know if it's hereditary, and I haven't read anything that said, or studied anything that says that depression is hereditary. But I do think that depression can flow in the realm of nature versus nurture. So if you are around someone that's always depressed, sad, nagging, down, I think those type of things can be, passed to us, or we can be influenced by them. I believe that our spirit and the way we feel is transferable. If you're around somebody that's happy and smiling and having a good time, then it's hard to sit there and just be stern-faced and nasty. But if you're around somebody that is just completely down, just go sit around someone like that. They can pull your mood down completely.
Right.
So if you think about that, from a child, being a child, which that was me as a child, I think I was around a lot of negativity. And I think it kind of set the stage for how I view things through life. I tended to be a pessimist versus an optimist, which affected me in having depression. Most definitely.
Totally agree. And just
so I don't know
as
about
you stated,
hereditary, but I think exposure to different people can lead you down that path. Most definitely.
And just as you stated, what you put in your body makes a difference. What you put in your mind and soul and your spirit makes a difference as well. Just like positive affirmations, if you feed your spirit positivity, you'll see that coming forward. But as you stated, being around negativity, sooner or later, you're going to see that same thing rubbing off on you, that learned behavior.
Yes. Establish a boundary. A boundary. You don't want to be around those types of people.
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay. So there's no other questions in the queue, but I do have a question. Yes, so ma'am. I know that you mentioned that one of the things that you did was create boundaries. And when you created those boundaries, did you find it difficult to put distance between you and people that were maybe influencing you or had negative influence? And when I say negative influence, not making you do things, but just were always negative. Or either did you find it difficult to establish those boundaries?
Yes, and I'm still working on establishing boundaries. Establishing boundaries is not easy. Um, that's one of the harder things that I've had to do in order to effectively manage my depression. Some of the relationships in my life actually caused me depression. I was depressed over, the way people would treat me or deal with me, the things that I would give to them, and I would not get that in return. I think we all deal with it. Family can be very, very, very difficult. But the bottom line is if it's causing you negativity, then you have to learn the skill of assertiveness. And that's something I went through in therapy, was how to assert myself. You have to learn how to speak up for yourself and say, hey, that's what you're doing is not cool. It's affecting me in this manner. And if they continue to do it, then that's probably someone that does not need to be in your life. I think that the way we are raised, I mean, I think that most families did the best that they could. But I always tell people, especially dealing with family, that or significant others, boyfriends, girlfriends, um, blood does not make you family, relationship does. And how people treat you is what makes them family. I have some people that treat me perfect. I mean, just good. Like, oh, this is such a nice person to me. Those are the type of people that you want to have in your life. And when you realize why you're doing it, why you're establishing that boundary, you're establishing that boundary so that you can have a better quality of life for yourself because you deserve that. We all deserve that. And so, yeah, it's hard, but you have to assert yourself, let them know why you're doing what you're doing, and follow through with it. Because if not, the same thing will continue to happen. And I've had it happen to me all of my life until now, until I made the decision that I'm not going to allow people to bring me down mentally. I'm not going to let anybody abuse me. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not willing to. And I mean, I'm so much happier because of that. I mean, it's a life experience, but it's real. I am happy. I've removed some people completely. um, and then at least they know, like, hey, I'm feeling disrespected. I don't think that that's right. And if you continue to do that, it's getting bright. The sun's going down. If you continue to do those things, then I can't have you in my life anymore. And I'm still cordial with them. I'm very respectful, but I have drawn the line in the sand. I have established that boundary, and that's something I will continue to do for the rest of my life. It has been very effective. Very.
I like that. I like that. Well, those are all of our questions tonight.
Oh, I had fun.
Thank you, Miss Dunn. Okay, so we're going to get ready to wrap up, but one thing I'm going to ask you to do is leave our viewing audience with some words of encouragement. Anything you want to share? The floor is yours.
I just hope that, I mean, whoever is watching can see that I'm a normal person, normal woman. Whether it's a male or female, life has impacted me in a negative way. But that is not really what my concentration is now. It's on overcoming that. And I think that it's something that we are all capable of. I hope that people see similarities. Maybe they'll see something that I said as a reflection in their lives, and they will realize that you can always be happier. And depression is not something that you have to stay in. It's something that you can actually change. You can actually change yourself for the better if that's what you really want to do. And so I'm really wishing everyone the best, especially as we continue to deal with COVID-19. And I can't save the world, but if anyone needs help, I'm always readily available to assist how I can. And I mean that it's not something that I'm just saying just to say. Um, That's one of the things that I'm supposed to be doing in life, is helping other people. And reach out to me if I can't do it. I will find the resources to help and assist. That is my
Thank you,
word.
Ms. Walton. That is a blessing. Share with our viewing audience once again, how can you be reached and where can they purchase your book?
The book again is at Amazon.com. Again, ranges from $3.99 to $9.99. You can buy it on Kindle. You can also purchase it on Apple Books. If you go to Woman Estates on Instagram, I do have a link tree where you can go and purchase a personal book, which means I will sign it, send it to you. And for each of those books that you purchase, I will give away a free book to someone who would like to read or needs the book.
Tiffany, Ms. Walton, it has been a pleasure. This has been very informative. Keep on growing, keep on blessing others through your experiences. Um, I really believe this is part of your mission in life. I
Yes,
felt the
ma'am.
sincerity there. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Miss
joining us
Shannon.
on this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
And
enjoyed myself as well. Thank you.
thank you. I will be purchasing a book, and it will be. I'm letting some of y'all know now. This gonna be your Christmas gift. If I think you need it, okay, I'm just kidding. But no, I will. Bring this
Make
up
sure
for
you
Christmas
come
gift.
visit Hawaii. Y'all come visit me too.
Oh my gosh, don't say that now, because we love to travel.
Hey, come on.
All right, thank you, and have a good. Well, I guess I was gonna say a good night, but a good afternoon.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think it's there. Okay, at this time, we're going to transition. I'm going to have Miss Duncan join me on the screen, and we're going to thank. Again, we want to thank Miss Walton for joining us on tonight. So this is the end of this year's series of Author Babbles, and we want to come forth and thank everyone for joining us. It has been a pleasure. We've grown. We've dealt with emotions, but it has been so worth it.
Can you believe that we made a season 1?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've interviewed a total of, I think my last count was like 39 authors.
Wow.
From March to now.
Mm-hmm.
We're already booked through June next year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still growing and still just trying to build this and create a platform for authors. It was one of our things that we wanted to do. This is kind of like our passion project. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm glad that it's been successful.
It has. It really has. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? But it's been amazing.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I didn't think that people would want to be on the show because we didn't have like a platform or we didn't have audience, right. Or I was like, nobody's gonna want to do this show. We don't have it.
It's a good thing, and it's exposure, so that's good. Right. Like you're helping in various ways. It's not just helping to sell books, but like bringing awareness. And I'm sure you meet like a variety of different people.
Oh my God, so many.
I intend to post it on my page, and then I have a couple of authors pages. I don't know if you guys want to grow even more, but
we do. We really want exposure because, like you said, we've met so many different authors, so many different genres. And then when we get an opportunity to bring exposure to like depression, last week we had an author on, and she was a coach. She was a life coach.
Oh wow!
And then we had one author that we interviewed, and her book was about her being a foster parent and navigating the foster care system. Wow. I mean, we've had so many different topics, so many different types of authors that it's like, no, we need to be doing this because we would have never found these people. Yeah, exactly. And it's just amazing. It's just, it's amazing. Just at the response, and I get all excited. I'm like, I'm up. Sharon, to tell you, I spent 3 days over Thanksgiving holiday I sat on the sofa. I worked on our website, and I did not get up only to eat, use the bathroom, and I think I took a shower.
Oh wow.
TMI.
I know TMI, but I was
I was like that too.
I was determined to make sure that by Sunday our website was up, everything was there, because to me that was another step for us and making sure that we had a platform to display Arthur, our interviews that we've done through the whole year, and to be able to just have people just go to our website, not only for our book club, but just to see our Arthur's Babbles. There, we have people that send us their stuff. They don't want to interview, so we do Arthur spotlights. So it was really important to me. And she's like, "Are you gonna get up? Are you gonna come outside?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna finish this site."
And you guys do very good interviewing as well. I have had some interviews that I was just like, "What was that?" Like I was so uncomfortable, but like. You guys are very good at what you do.
Thank you.
Making the person comfortable. I think scheduling ahead of time is a good thing. I had somebody come on that was just like, as soon as we connected, they were like, "Okay, let's talk about your book," and it was so robotic. And I was just like, I told them, I was like, "Can you please not air that?" Because I was uncomfortable the entire time. I felt like I was being grilled, and I was like, this is not
and that's why we say we just want you to feel like you're talking to your friend or a new friend.
And that's how I felt.
And just make it as comfortable as possible, because it's like, if you're not comfortable, nobody's going to receive anything that we're saying, because they're going to be like, "Oh, that was kind of awkward." Right. So
it was awkward. I was like, "Oh my goodness, she's rough." I was like, "What is this?" I felt like I had darts. Like, I was like, "Oh, it's not the right interview. Like, maybe try again."
Yeah, and in our 30 minutes that we have before the interview, it's always helpful, because we had one author who was really, really shy.
Oh,
we had to break the ice.
Oh my gosh, she was so shy, and we just kept talking to her and kept talking to her. And we were like,
and flourished.
And then by the time we got to the interview, she was just like, boom.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
So we will be back, guys. We'll be back on January the 7th with a full schedule. Hopefully everyone will have a great Christmas holiday, Happy New Year, and just be safe. Sharon and I are going to be doing about a 18-day road trip.
Yes.
We're doing an 18-day road trip.
That's exciting.
Yes. So we will be traveling. We may pop in and do a couple of live from wherever we are, just for fun. Yeah. So guys, thanks everyone, our authors, everybody that viewed our videos, that joined our lives, every author that accepted an invitation to be on our show. We greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you guys, because without you guys, we wouldn't have this show, we wouldn't have this platform. And we look forward to a great 2021. This is something good that came out of 2020.
Yeah. Okay, for the last time in 2020, this is On Another Level Book Club from Dallas, Texas. Stay safe and have a great night. And remember, reading gives us someplace to go when we have to stay where we are. Stay safe and stay blessed.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.